This podcast has topics in relation to death, suicide and drug use. This may be confronting for some listeners.
As veterans and first responders, we also use some dark humour in this episode. We ask that you keep in mind that dark humour is a timeless and research-supported method.
I just wanted to use that for dark humour.
I was like...
Yeah, I know. You were killing it. You were killing it. Hang on.
Didn't hit record.
I didn't get him at all. Damn it. Had him coughing. It was
Classic
great.
bursa.
Standard
Hit record.
Oh, any danger of a buddy check?
It was the buddy check, mate. I only let you roll a few seconds.
This is the most Matty Morris has ever listened to this song.
Well, we are
now
back.
Now he's going to be jamming to it forever.
We are back on the Imposter podcast for part 2 with Matty Morris from the Zero Limits podcast. So if you've listened to part 1, we covered off on a bit of his childhood and going into the Australian Army. And I think we'll pick back up when you've had a few injuries and you're starting to look at getting out and what might be next after a military career.
Yeah, right. So, there was real no direction for me getting out. I look back now, I rushed my exit out of the military.
Standard practice?
Standard practice. Obviously, a few of us looked into the private security industry and there was a few jobs popping up. A few boys were in Iraq, a few boys were in Afghanistan doing contracting. So that's...
When was this again? What year?
09.
Was it because it kicked off a bit after that, didn't it? It's like it started, the contracting got really massive after. When was Blackwater and stuff?
2003.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
so
they cracked off straight away,
right.
yeah. Afghan and stuff. Generally from about 2006 is when most blokes started jumping across outside of the early days.
There's a resume with Afghanistan on it. Did really well, didn't it, with private security and stuff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was
Timor would have been
Timor, like, where's that?
Is that even a place?
Is that the place in New South Wales? There is actually Timor in New South Wales. And, mate, so I just thought, let's get into the security industry. I think there's a few of us that got out, obviously. I didn't want to move to Townsville. Didn't want to lose my wings. Didn't want to wear a crap hat up in Townsville. You know what I mean? I was airborne. I wanted to wear my beret.
No light infantry.
No, I wanted to wear a beret and that was it.
Crap hat. Is that what you called a digger's hat?
Crap hat, yeah.
Jeez.
Fucking crap hats.
Wow.
Mate, got out of the army, got an accelerated discharge, lied and said, yeah, I've got this other job, got one of my mate's dad to write a letter, say, he's coming to work with me.
Yeah.
No chance. Got out within 3 months, I'm pretty sure. It was quite
I love that that's accelerated.
Accelerated, yeah, 3 months, yeah. Otherwise it would have taken a year.
Yeah.
Got out, did a security course, actually New South Wales security license course, and moved straight up here to Newcastle with my previous, with the 2 kids, obviously 2 kids now, one was only born. And actually, when was the second one born? 2009. 2009, second one was born.
Just to help you remember.
Yeah, I totally forgot that. I got to get that. Got the names tattooed. I got the dates tattooed as well. Did the security course and still had no direction. But this job popped up doing private security here in Sydney, down in Sydney, do it for a scientist looking after him for a couple of years. And Frank Lowy, Westfields, that popped up. So I worked with them for a couple of years. You say
private security, you're talking like Wilson where you're sitting on a boom gate at a guard, or are you?
No, like close protection.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, I worked for Frank Lowy and I was doing his dog handling. So I was the explosive detection dog handler. And then moving into, the private security world overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan. I started off Mexico, did Mexico for a few weeks, and that turned out to be
for a cartel because they can't look after themselves.
I'll tell you what, it was the most dangerous time of my life. And looking back now, I'm thinking, what a dickhead.
Did we finally get an imposter moment in Mexico, though?
No, I don't think
still prepared.
It wasn't I was prepared. Yeah. It was just
like his first drop of 15 kilos.
It was just
very nerve wracking.
Yeah. I look back now and it's like, holy shit, I could have died. Yeah, so I wasn't an imposter. I was like, holy shit, I could have died.
Very confronting.
Yeah, it was confronting more than anything.
Yeah.
Is
that where your naivety?
That was.
Where you're like, but it wasn't actually not bulletproof.
That was the footstep into the private security hostile environment arena. So for me to get to Iraq, as you said before, you needed that experience. They're like, you need 2 years hostile environment experience. You need 1 year and 5 years in the military, etc. And they was like, yeah, tick, 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 tick. Yeah, I've got it all now. So and then obviously Iraq popped up. It was funny. I was flying to my honeymoon to Fiji with the wife. Literally land in Fiji and get the email. You've got a job in Iraq's up. Like, We need you. We need you next week. I'm like, oh fuck.
I thought you were going to say you were there in the coup started.
Yeah.
You're at the Fiji.
I started it.
Yeah.
There's no KFC. This is bullshit.
I actually ran Fiji for 6 months. Yeah.
But so came back to Australia and flew straight to Iraq. Did Iraq for a couple of years and then moved to Afghanistan. One of the boys left.
When you say you did Iraq, like, is it 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off sort of thing? Or
it was 2 months on, 1 month off. This is at the Australian Embassy as well, Australian Embassy, Baghdad, which is co-infused with the Kiwi Embassy as well in New Zealand. And just providing personal protection for the ambassador or any government diplomat that come across to Iraq, which included ASIO boss.
Did you tell all the Kiwis that you were married?
No.
Oh, right.
No,
thought you would have hidden behind it. But
really any. Yeah, I know.
She's like, yeah, no, I'm one of you cousins.
Yeah, no, I'm Spanish. Ole.
So
I'm actually Singaporean. Yeah, close.
Yeah. I know, but you could have pulled it off was my point.
Oh, yeah. I get it all the time.
Because at no point would you tell me you were Singaporean. Would I believe you?
Oh, heaps. They're like, are you
There's no 6'4" Singaporeans.
I've had Aboriginals come to me and go, what tribe are you from? Like,
oh, really?
I'm from Singapore. Like, far from it.
I didn't want to just toe the line and join every gang.
Yeah.
You're one of those bitzers. You really should get into Hollywood.
Bits of everything. Yeah. Could be anything.
There's a couple of those like Maori lads who are, or Maori, however they want to say it, who are like they're on some TV shows and they just play Mexicans or they play whatever. Yeah, it's great.
I could be the Taliban.
Like, when you get Sean Barry, when you get Sean Barry on,
I'll tell you.
Jump on.
I'll put it on my resume.
Yeah. 6'4", can play any religion.
Any religion.
Yeah. And I've even been to Mexico, so tick, tick, tick.
Exactly.
Moving into the hostile environment world, you know, you did some courses and stuff, but was that a really big life change from sort of infantry, minor tactics and patrolling? How did that evolution happen and ending up in Iraq in the, you know, the built up areas? And
I flew to the US and did a hostile protection course, hostile environment protection course. You know, bodyguard is what they call it in the mainstream, and it's a total different aspect from infantry to moving into the bodyguard world. Even before I moved into close protection, hostile environment, I was doing celebrities and executives. Not to mention I started with Nitro Circus as well, touring around the world with them. So it's a different world moving in from infantry, kill or capture. You know, you see the enemy, you go find them and crush them. Whereas bodyguard work or, close protection, your job is to grab a client and bug off. Get out of there, get out of harm's way. So it was a total different transition from, again, finding and seek out and kill the enemy.
And it's interesting because I heard you on one of the other podcasts talking about it where you were like, our job is just fuck off. Whereas, in infantry, it was like, oh, where'd that come from? Right, well, we're exterminating that.
Exactly.
It's very
you want
different.
to avoid the incident before it's even developed.
And that's the primary goal is to avoid it. You see the combat indicators and then you try and shut it down.
Which is opposite. So you did, obviously, capture and kill scenarios, and then you did Timor, which is peacekeeping and policing, and then bodyguarding's just get out. Get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
It's ignore it completely, get away from it.
Yeah, which obviously understands, those combat indicators. And it happened in Iraq one time. I think we took a female client, Australian Embassy client, to a location. It might have been in Sada City somewhere, obviously one of the old hotspots. And, literally as we rocked up, it was like the movies where the roller shutters, everyone starts dragging in their tennis balls and showing the roller shutters.
You're like, I saw this in Black Hawk Down.
Noticed it at the start, went in, still did the job. And then, obviously this gun truck rocks up with, militia in the back of it. And, one of the boys jumping around and said, Matty, just let you know, there's a gun truck out here and you might want to tell
gun truck being like an unbreakable Hilux with a...
Yeah, pretty much,
a 50 on the back.
Militia in the back of it. And he's like, you might want to tell the client. She's like, oh.
You might want to tell her.
Yeah. And I said, oh, all right, righto. So I tell her and she's like, we're not leaving. Just your typical Australian government. Yeah. We're not leaving.
She's like, you will fix that problem.
I'm here to do a job. I'm here to do a job and I know everything. Righto. She said she's not leaving and she called me a word. And then like, oh, well, tell that, beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
Get in the beep, beep, beep in the car or we're just going to leave you there. And so I did. I gave her
those words.
Get your
and
she was. I'm like, there is a legit something going on outside. We need to move now. You are the you're the Australian Embassy representative. We are the security professionals. We'll tell you what to do right now. You're in our world now, so let's go.
Yeah, but the first one didn't go that way, did it?
We ended up getting in trouble.
I'm pretty sure that was a quote from 13 Hours.
It was, yeah. But it was exactly what it was. That's exactly what I said to her. You're in our world now.
But when
we dictate what happens from now.
Yeah. But the first time you asked her, you were being polite.
I was being polite until she wanted to call me stuff, and then obviously got the go ahead from the team leader.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, were you the team leader or
No, the team leader gave me the go
ahead.
I
want to tell this later.
He's like, tell her exactly how I'm going to say it right now. I'm like, done.
What sort of ratio did you get where they would just listen to the security team straight up, or they would have that here for certain role?
Very, very rarely you'd find one that was good enough to listen. You'd give them the indicators or something. They'd be like, "Oh no, it's fine." I'm like, "Righto."
Surely,
if we get shot at,
I was going to say
you'll be my shield.
Yeah,
I won't be yours.
Because that's what I was thinking. It'd be the first time there's an actual contact. From then on, they'll be like looking at you the whole time, just waiting for you to go.
It is. It's like the boy cry wolf. A lot of it is. But obviously, there's a lot of good embassy workers out there. There was one great guy out there. I can't remember I remember his first name, Tony. I don't remember his last name, but he was really good, and obviously helped us with. We had a bit of an incident over there with, obviously, in-house incident that left one member dead, and he helped out with that whole situation. It turned out, obviously, he helped out really well and kept us going. But
I think that's one of the problems, because I wonder if you'd have that with Dutton, being that he knows.
I think we would.
You reckon he'd tell you to go?
No, I think he'd be good. Yeah.
Because I just wonder, being that he's got
perspective he's
got a history, of
he understands.
Yeah, or if you'd had Jim Molan or something like that at the time, whether you'd be like, we're at threat level, whatever, we need to bowl. He'd be like, you've said too much. Why aren't we in the car?
Yeah.
They'd be like, these boys want to get into Stoushes. Why are they telling me to leave?
Yeah,
exactly. Because that's not great.
Yeah.
Because if it'd be like, we took one out, don't worry about it.
And not to mention, you look at the private security, what we were doing, you're not supported to the extent of where you've got gunships above you. You've got, that much military support. There's only 10 of us in 4 cars.
Yep.
With AKs and a couple of guns.
Some of them would have no context of how big the private sort of military world is over in the Middle East, and how a lot of those jobs are, contracted out.
Yeah.
And not reported on as well.
No,
is
exactly.
That right?
That's the whole point of it. Like if a contractor dies, it is what it is. It just disappears. Doesn't make the media.
Yeah. It's like we lost an asset. It's sort of the
just lost a number. You know, obviously when the military dies, so that's the reason why they use contract, and obviously just reduces liability. If the company fucks up, they can just piss that company off and go, "Oh, it wasn't us; it was the company that."
And we reprimanded them by doing this.
We pissed them off. Yeah.
So that a mate of mine who was working in Africa, like up in the where all the fields are up in South Sudan and that sort of stuff, and he was saying, like contractors are just having wars basically between China and America, where they're all just working for 2 different companies, but they're paid for by different governments, and you're like, right, so it's a proxy war through private enterprise. But it's crazy.
Yeah, mate. So that's working for the embassy in Baggers, and then one of the boys went to Afghanistan, Kabul. Same thing. Straight back to the Australian embassy in Kabul and worked there.
Yep. And
same thing.
Balancing a bit of the sort of celebrity /
I was, mate.
Overseas work at the time.
I'd come back on that month off, and I'd be straight either back working nightclub doors, or I'd be back doing Nitro Circus. So there'll be times where I was in Iraq, and then I'd fly straight to the US and do Nitro Circus, or fly to Europe, do Nitro Circus, then fly back to Afghanistan or Iraq.
So did your podcast start during this time?
No, it started 2001, March 2001. 2021, sorry. 2001.
Yeah, I was like, so before you joined the army.
There was podcast back then?
Yeah.
I wish I started back then.
I had to save them for 12 years before podcasting started,
So Nitro Circus, that's an interesting dynamic. So they need security, do they? And do they just have fans and it's just a control thing? Like what's the
just like any
there?
type of celebrity, Travis Pastrana himself, obviously he's quite a, well-known name around the world and has been for quite some time. And, they've all, on any of those world international tours, you always need security and safety, obviously safety aspect. They're riding motorbikes, don't want them crashing into crowds, etc. So me as a safety security expert or consultant, I put, the countermeasures in place to avoid any risk to anyone, even the riders, making sure their helmets are in spec, making sure their bikes are, not grinded off serial numbers and stuff.
And it's funny that you say stuff like that, because this is certain things that come from the army that you wouldn't put down on your resume. Like the fact that you you do checks before you'd go out. Like you would check each other out. You're like, mate, your chin strap's undone. Your shoelaces are laced the wrong way. If you get shot, we got to cut your laces off. They're not doing the right way. Or, mate, why is that on back to front? It's like you've been awake for 3 days. Like obviously your backpack's upside down and whatever else it is. And there's all those sorts of checks which then carry over to workplace health and safety.
Exactly.
But we just don't know how to put that stuff down on a piece of paper. So it's like if you can work out a way to transition, like, attention to detail. I do this, and this. Or, if you've worked with explosives, you can now get into shop fires. I mean, I heard you talking on another podcast how they used to give away. They used to train you to do stuff and then give you the qualification for it.
Yep.
So when you got out, you could actually transition.
Yeah.
Engineers were shop firers. They were going from there straight to the mines. They went, well, there's too many blokes.
Mortars were the same, I think.
No more qualifications.
Yeah.
But like, that workplace health and safety, realistically, everybody should have one from the Army.
Yeah, exactly.
The amount of safety stuff you have to do there.
Everything.
And anything you do, you have to do a risk assessment, you have to fill out a form, you have to do all that sort of stuff.
Everything.
And everyone's doing that for everything. So it's transitions over really well. And then you look at, WorkSafe and stuff. They're always taking coppers because there's investigations and risk assessment. But people just don't. They're like, I'm just the bloke on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's where the imposter part comes into it, obviously, where they don't think they can do it. Whereas you've obviously gone the other way where you're like, well, I've run missions. I went to Mexico and that was probably not the brightest thing. I've done another risk assessment on that where maybe I won't do that again.
I'll do it again.
Yeah.
I'll be just better armed this time.
Yeah. I need armor this time.
Yeah.
But, and then it's interesting because everything you've done has been a step forward where it just seems to be like, you've done something which has then opened a door and you've just run through it. So everything you've done seems to have been, well, whilst I'm here, I'm looking around and you're taking stuff in, like being security, and then you meet a bunch of people and now you can do a podcast with them. And then, but you did Relax, love this, going to 3RR, went there, did that, went to Afghanistan, private security, boys are doing this. Like everything is just, but it's a sliding doors moment where you could have gone yes or no. Like at any point you could have gone, nah, not doing that. And then you would have stagnated. But I don't see at a point here at all where you've stagnated and done one thing for longer than any period of time. So I think that's something other people can take away.
I think that's almost like a double-edged sword as well. People that jump from job to job, but I think is what you put into
security.
It's It's
job security.
It's what you put into that job.
Yeah.
If again, there's another one of my mates who's going to be coming on my podcast. Same thing. He jumped from job to job to job and then did a bit of male modeling, etc. But it was.
I love the way you bring that up. Like he's gone. He was.
It was just weird.
I'm sure that job to job is like super elite, and then you're like, and then he was a male model in his jocks.
Because I'm literally, got the pamphlet out of Audi. I'm like,
Audi? He's an Audi model. Come on,
now. That was one of them.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's like me saying I'm a combat clerk.
What's Jesse doing in here? Holy hell! This is
Jesse. Who do we want to name him?
No, he'll be on.
Did you ever have to go through like the resume process, or were they sort of always
for
referral
Nitro?
Jobs? Oh, for sort of any of the security work along the way.
Yeah, definitely for majority. So majority of close protection and stuff. It's all resume based. Obviously you can't just. But again, problem with resumes, you can fudge them.
Do you just go there and tell worries? I feel like as security, you're like, yeah, mate, I went to Afghanistan, got in some contacts, got some mad kills, see my little tattoos on my cheek.
Yeah,
that's me. I got into some firefights. What of it?
It's weird because a lot of the jobs, again, in the security industry, they just, especially with a hostile environment, it's all about tick and flick because it's all insurance based these days, public liability. So they want to make sure you've done your 5 years or got your certificate or got your first aid medical certificate, and they're like, oh yeah, sweet, he ticks all those boxes. Let's just send him in.
Yeah, it's a risk management for the insurance company.
That's it. And then generally they get weeded out once they get there. They'll do the fitness test and fail it, or shooting test, they'll fail, and that's when they get booted. It's obviously not cost effective, but they don't care because the government's paying for it.
Yeah.
Did you ever find, we've talked to a few people about it, and often they're talked about now as the soft skills, but sometimes if guys don't really know what skills they've got coming out of the military, I found writing a resume was a really good process just for going, shit, actually, I've got all these things ticked off. I can fill all these boxes. And you start using language, like we use a lot of acronyms and certain phrases. But if you start putting it into the, civilian terms sometimes, you go, well, I actually have a really good resume. I have a lot of skills that I'd never listed and labelled before. Was that your experience, or did you just sort of find that as you went and you stepped into bigger roles in security?
Yeah, you're probably right there. There's definitely a lot of things that you don't list and you don't think that is applicable. And then you get in the job and you go, holy shit, like you were saying before, workplace health and safety, going back to the army, doing a checklist to use a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick.
Like you wouldn't have thought you could be a safety consultant until you were doing it for Nitro
No
Circus.
idea. Until I started doing holy shit, I did all this in the army.
Like a non-tech all that
non-tech,
sort of like
everything.
non-tech and camnets. Like, come on now, spare me.
I know.
But it's like, if you can articulate that and put it in it, like ChatGPT is hilarious. I put my resume into ChatGPT and the list of skills that it came out with, like I said, write this in a way that a smart person would, or whatever. You've already on GPT. Yeah. Like something on there from GPT, like onto ChatGPT. And then it came up with, attention to detail, like tardiness, all this sort of stuff, takes a lot of respect for what he's doing, risk assessment, hazard identification, all these sorts of things. And it's not even making it up. You're like, well, I actually do all that. It's just a matter of being able to put the words onto a piece of paper. You got to edit it because it obviously spells it in American and stuff, so people realize you just ChatGPT'd yourself. But it's really interesting to see what ChatGPT would say your skills are versus what you would say if you were selling yourself to someone.
Yeah.
And another problem I find that we have being like first responders or military is that everything is we did this, we did that. There's never an I. Like, I never did this on my own. Mm-hmm. So and we've got a real history of humble where you're like, oh, the team did this. And you always talk up other boys. You're like, old mate did this. You're like, oh, yeah, Matty Morris went over, kicked that door and did this and that, right. When meanwhile you might have, held off 400 people at the front. Yeah. You're like, yeah, but Matty and Al did this, It's which I love about, because if you were actually working with someone in a company, if they continued that, it's like credit where it's due, because you'll talk up the people around you. Whereas when you get into corporate, it's very much, I did this, and you're taking credit for other people's things, which shit leaders do, and they did in the army. Yeah. Like, that was an officer trait, obviously. But we've got 5 listeners. Don't worry about it.
5 officers? Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm back to 1 now. But Mum will always stay, so that'll be fine. But yeah, so it's interesting to see where we sit, where we see ourselves versus where we go. But
yeah, exactly. And I think, we talk about Iraq. This is where I come up with the concept of the security company. So, I got sick of obviously working for someone else, putting it all in the hard yards, and then, I don't get the recognition for it. The managers get the recognition for it. So that's where the concept of the security company for this come into play. Basically we wanted to leave Iraq. There was 3 of us. We wanted to leave Iraq and start a private security company here in Australia and provide personal protection. And there was nothing really. There was a few companies out there, and there's obviously a billion companies now.
Yeah. Got in at the right time.
Yeah, got in at the right time. And, so that motivation. Funny story, like we actually got drunk one night in Iraq.
The way all good business on
a drive. Funny story. Story time with Matty Morris. Got drunk one night, absolutely belted on vodka. 3 of us, there were 3 or 4
I like the way that was important. Yep. Vodka. Remember that.
Vodka. Sitting in a room, and we're like, obviously we want to start a security. It was always talked about, and we're like, let's do it. Jump on the laptop, ASIC, straight on there.
The name's free.
Name's free. Yep, name's free. Pay the money, $700. It was part of Odin Group. It's a whole military thing, and obviously,
Odin, Raven,
loving, the god Thor and all that. I think that Norse culture is like reflected, especially within the military. The whole Valhalla stuff, and
warrior history,
warrior culture, etc.
I was hoping you were going to say it was on the bottle of the vodka you're drinking.
It's like, oh, fuck yeah.
It's got a deep meaning. Fair enough.
Yeah, and started the company like drunk. Literally paid the money. And we woke up the next morning like, holy shit, and got emails from ASIC. We started a security company, so here it is. But obviously the motivation was there. We just didn't have the balls to do it, and then we got drunk, we did it. And I got back to, obviously moved to...
So before, if it took you getting blind to do it when you've been talking about it, like what was the thing that set you off to actually decide to do that?
I think
considering everything else in your life you've done, it's just like, throw a grenade at it, I'll run in there.
Well, that's I think, obviously, when you're intoxicated, you're...
Inhibitions go down.
Yeah, well, you make decisions that I reckon you've already decided in your head. You'll pull the trigger like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I think money...
We've all had that conversation.
We've all had that conversation.
But not everyone goes ahead and does it.
No one goes ahead. And I think that's one thing, if I could look back, probably wouldn't have been drunk and do it anyway.
Well, because you registered your name and it was spelt wrong.
Probably did. And
Ravens
doesn't have 3 hours. What's going on here?
2 seagulls.
Yeah.
That's not what we spoke about. And looking at it, being drunk, making that decision, pulling the trigger, and doing it, and then once we did it and woke up and thought, oh shit, we did this. Now we're going to follow ahead with it. Like we're in that military mindset where we thought, we could just not do it.
Yeah.
But that was the trigger to say, let's go ahead with it. So went to Afghanistan.
I think, that's one of those things where you put it out there and you identify that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, shit, now I'm accountable.
Even
though realistically
there was nothing to be accountable for.
ASIC's not going to ring you.
No.
Like, I don't know if
you've
you've
seen
seen
how many expire if you wanted to. Yeah.
Pretty sure you've seen how many businesses go under.
Yeah.
ASIC don't go, hey, mate, how you going with that? Do you want to go better?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're a Qantas, they'd just throw you a hand out.
That's it.
It's the only business they follow up with to help out there.
And
I'm digging myself a hole over here. This podcasting better take off.
Yeah, obviously moved to Afghanistan, did that job, and then got back to Australia and thought, you know what, obviously I'm still with Nitro, still doing our celebrities. I'm with, I did Jonas Brothers and a whole bunch of other celebrities as well in the meantime. And
when you say that you did the Jonas Brothers.
you know what, I probably would do them if I had a chance.
Well, I just wanted to clarify because you've got a couple of clips from me and your one. I'm just trying to get, what do I retaliate with?
I did security for them.
The Jonas Brothers.
No rainbow flags. And obviously did the security and got back and thought, you know what, I'll start a security company. So this is where this began. Obviously, through it, so from 2009 when I go to the Army, I was nightclub bouncing the whole time. So I'd come back, nightclub bounce. If I wasn't doing something, I'd nightclub bounce. I love it. Love that, love the concept of bouncing because you're providing a level of security for people to have fun. That is your sole purpose. People are having fun while you keep them safe and protected.
Nothing to do with the groupies, obviously.
Oh, and that too. Yeah. There's plenty of those. That got me in a lot of trouble. And babies. And yeah, got back, started the security company, and there was a lot of learning to do with the security company. I didn't even know how to send out an invoice. I had no idea. I'm like, what the hell's an invoice? What's public liability? What's workers' compensation? I had no idea. Literally on YouTube, maybe Google. Ask no one. So everything I've ever done, I've never asked no one for help. I've just made it up as I went.
Really? No business mentor,
nothing,
no one checking in on you?
Absolutely nothing. And
you don't really need it now with YouTube. I think that's another thing. It's like there's so many things you can do now and just like, I want to do this. Jump on YouTube.
Yeah.
People are literally telling you how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like because your view is how they get paid a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And it's like they want to help you now.
Yeah.
There's so much free info on there. The drama is you can't put that on a resume. What happened, I got 400 hours with Mr. Beast.
Yeah,
don't you worry.
I've got a diploma in YouTube.
Yeah. I follow this.
It'll probably be a real
channel.
thing soon.
It will be because that's how I got my diploma. That's how I started a security company was YouTube and Google. And but I had that mentality of just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
And is it like one thing at a time? Okay, I'll learn how to do it, send out an invoice today.
Yep. So I got one. Yep. So I got one client.
Yep.
And then figured out. Yep. Oh yeah. I'll join a QuickBooks as Xero, and I'll just figure it out. Oh yeah. It says invoicing here. Yep. Oh yeah. Put the numbers in and put the email in and hit send. And if I get paid, then I guess it's worked. You know what I mean? And if it didn't, then I'll be like, oh shit, there must be an error.
And you're obviously doing well enough now because the ATO are chasing you.
Oh yeah, fuck. I mean, they chased me for years. Bloody hell.
That's why you keep
non-stop
moving from place to place.
Non-stop.
Let that.
Hello.
So there shouldn't be any barrier to entry. Is sort of what I'm hearing is just take it
Just
on.
do
and
it.
Just
go
follow
for
the
it.
bouncing ball and learn as you go.
Even looking at it now, what's the worst that's going to happen? My company gets shut down. I lose it all. I'm not going to lose my house. I'm not going to. It's nothing tied to me. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs, obviously, but again, that's business. Like,
do you feel a sense of pressure now because you have employees as well?
Oh, definitely. Again,
is that the biggest pressure you've had?
It is because you want to keep them employed. Obviously, they got to keep. In saying that though, with security, they could just jump and find another job instantly. But and not even that. It's about customer service, mate. For me to have their clients feel like they've got the best security in the world, that's my mentality. Because I think the reason why I've succeeded so well in the security industry is that everywhere I've gone, I've stepped it up that next level. I've gone out and bettered myself. There's currently, obviously with the job that I'm with now internationally, they look at me and they're like, oh shit, he's just done this. I've just been through another course. I just did another online course just for shits and giggles, but they're going to love it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I continually better
and you haven't
yourself.
rested.
Rested.
Keep
just
reaching for it.
Better yourself and be the best at that position that you can be. It's just one of those things. I think I actually saw a good meme the other. I was a meme or more of a.
Did it
quote
have Creed on in the background? Did it have Creed on?
Can you take me higher? That was part of it. But I saw a good thing about the cops the other day. It said, be the police officer you want to be if you were to call the police, to rocking up to your door. But when I read it, I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what I want to be. I want to be that guy that rocks up to, a bodyguard job, and the client goes, holy fuck, this dude looks like he knows what he's doing. And then obviously you do the job and they're like, holy shit, he's switched on. I feel safe, you know what I mean? And it's funny because I actually just got a gift certificate from a well-known artist. And she was like, Matty, thanks for looking after me and the team. And I wasn't even the primary guy for that team. She already had a primary bodyguard, but I was just assisting him, helping movements around and stuff. She's like, we just felt safe when we knew when you were there, we felt safe. So it's all about just taking stuff to the next level and showing purpose.
Is that, I mean, you've worked with some incredible clients, you build a business from nothing. Is that sort of the message? If you're the most professional, you'll just keep rising? Like what do you do to really become the top of any industry?
Well, I reckon, sorry, I just started there.
Mate, we're in your office, mate. Do whatever you want.
Today, Junior. Yeah, the best thing is to continually upskill.
Yep.
Regardless if it's not in your field, just keep your mind active. Obviously, find your passions. There might be a passion, if you're passionate in music or whatever. I know, and it's still got nothing to do with what you're doing in the security world. It's still going to align with the security world because you're keeping your mind active and continually building on your instruction within your own mind, if you know what I mean. Now, one of the biggest things I've learned in time is mindset. Like, without having that mindset of just doing it, that's nothing. Anything outside of that is nothing. And it, as I said earlier, it took me to get drunk, obviously, to pull that trigger, but I probably would have done it anyway. It was just probably premature. I probably did it 6 months probably prior than what I would have actually done it.
It's funny though, because you've done all this stuff in the past, which is like being for a cause, like whether it be army, looking after each other, starting like doing private security, it's still protecting other people, bouncing, protecting other people. Like everything you've done, you've enjoyed because you're taking care of other people. And then the only thing you've ever sort of slowed down and reassessed has been doing something for yourself. So it's funny where you've gone, if I'm going to go out on my own, I'm now in charge, I'm doing everything. And now you're like, and now I've got the responsibility of actually, now I'm doing this. Other people are getting behind me. I have responsibility to them. Like that seems to be the only thing that you've ever hesitated and thought about. Because everything else, you're just like, yeah, I'll run through that door and grab old mate.
Yeah.
So it's funny that the only thing that you've actually ever sort of slowed down on was doing something for yourself, which is weird.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I'm starting to do that now. I'm starting to slow down and obviously family, kids, etc. But
so eventually your knees and your back and everything will fix that for you.
They're going now. Started a security company, built it to where it is now, multi-million-dollar business, 50-something employees. 2021, the podcast, it was just an idea. And it was.
Did you not have enough in your life or something? Or were you like, there's a spare 30 minutes a day?
You know what? I didn't realize how much work it was going to be.
Yeah, right.
And what was the idea? Like why? We all consume them, but why?
Because I was listening to podcasts. Obviously, read plenty of books. Read plenty of books. Read plenty of books. Listen to podcasts, and there was no podcast out there here in Australia that was giving the real guts and glory of each profession. That we were getting. There were other podcasts out there where they were just too scripted or too.
Are there any American ones?
There is, and this is where I got the motivation from. So I get the motivation from a couple of these American ones, and then obviously America. Fuck you,
America, yeah.
They just want to blow everything up and kill everything and save babies, and become. Or everyone wants to be the president of the United States type thing. And I saw that, and again, I saw these podcasts in Australia. I'm like, you know what? There's great guests coming on. Some of these guests are like gunfighters and great cops and great fires and stuff, but they're just like too. Like towing the line like Channel 7 or, like a
they're not allowed to either. That's the other thing. Like you have an uncanny ability to get people to open up and talk about stuff that they're not allowed to speak about.
Yeah.
Which is why you're probably not likely to get cops in the job, but you've already had a couple of cops in the job.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre because that's not a thing.
Yeah. It's been lucky, and again, it was just identifying that market here in Australia that was not getting targeted correctly. Great stories, but they were just too politically correct. Whereas I know I'm just a young dig from 3rd Battalion and pretty loose. You know, I've been to the knock shops, I've been to the strippers. You know, I've done my fair share of drugs in my life.
I shut down Flinders Street when we took on 1 and 2 RER.
And
chased people into the Ross River.
Lived a life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share the realness of those stories that were already getting told, but they weren't. You know, again, we talk about podcasts. People just tell the glory part of their lives or their careers, but they don't talk about
Instagram.
Yeah, they don't talk about breaking into the Gabba at age of 14 and get in trouble with the police. You don't talk about, I think I just had Mark Wales on the other day. SAS operator officer went to a knock shop at 14. It's in his book. No shit. You know what I mean? And he was speaking about it the other day. He's like, people tell the glory parts of their lives. They don't want to talk about the parts that made them. You know, I reckon my life has been shaped off that portion from 1984 when I was born through to, say, I wouldn't even say the army. It was probably that younger first 15 years of my life, 16 years of my life is what shaped me to who I am now. I wouldn't be I don't think it was the army. I don't think it was anything before that. It was definitely that first
like when
15
we were talking,
years.
Yeah, when we were talking about mine, like how much my family wasn't army or police, but it was just the ethics and stuff that my old man put into me that made me go, yep, this is it, which has held me in good stead because then I haven't really been brainwashed with the whole like the recruiting process and that sort of stuff. But it's like your family and your parents had such a massive deal. I'm just thinking with your podcast now, like you've now got the pressure on you where you're running 50 people in your normal job, and then you've also got the podcast, and in the podcast being that you're now pretty much the voice of every digger. Do you have any pressure on you for that? No,
not really, because it needs to be done. Obviously, the current climate within the military and the first responder world is quite volatile, and we've seen it. The media has done nothing but bash military over the last 10 years for the war crime stuff. They've done nothing but bash.
After we asked you as a country to go and serve. That's what's so rude about it.
Exactly.
We have expectations, but then we don't want to hear the result.
Exactly. And the same thing with cops, obviously a couple of these cops, one of them, my good friend, obviously in Northern Territory, got into that incident, but all he did was get tried by media straight up and bashed straight away and said, he's guilty.
The other thing is
not to be.
Like if there are war crimes, then like so be it. There's a process to follow. But my issue with it is they've been trialled by media and there's no court case, and there's no and Ben Robert-Smith had a crack at trying to win because that's literally the only case he had. And on the balance of probabilities that something may have happened, they're just like, oh, he's a war criminal. It's been proven. It's like it hasn't been proven. Like one bloke decided that on the balance of probabilities, flipping a coin, it could have happened. And that's not an actual trial. Like it's not a chance you could convict someone on it. And if they had enough stuff to do it, they would have taken him to court
already,
and he'd be in jail. But if
it should have been done at the time.
Should have been done at the time. 10 years ago when the war was still going on, not now. And the same for the cops. The beating that cops have been smashed over the last 10 years, 10, 15 years since that political changes influenced the current climate. I wanted to be the voice for not only military, but for cops and fireys and ambos, anyone out there that's got a story of, like myself, growing up from hardships and going through hardships. My life's not perfect, like far from it. And a lot of people, they only see what they see on Instagram, see me posting a gun, going hunting. There's a lot of backstory, there's a lot of, I see psychologists. I'm on, medication for health issues. I've got my issues, and just like
we walked in here, you had a blonde wig on and lipstick, telling yourself you're a filthy pig, and I was like, wow, okay, but we can still have a chat. All's well.
Save that for later. You know what I mean? Like you see all that stuff on Instagram and stuff, and I just wanted to be that voice to share the real stories of exactly what is happening out in the street, because I know that, especially with cops, they don't have a voice; they're not allowed to say anything. Whereas I've got a lot of high brass reaching out going, holy shit, mate. Like,
can you rein it in?
Yeah.
You get to a point in your life where, especially in this social media world, you almost don't exist, because that's how a lot of people live now. You have no identity. You have some little icon as your profile picture. Like, if you get out, you're like, actually, I don't exist like,
exactly.
I don't exist like other people exist. I don't have all this history and
Yeah, so that was
strange experience.
That was a motivating factor to start the podcast, and it was literally a trigger. I literally went out, bought the microphones
after a bottle of vodka.
No drinking this time.
Just made a decision this time.
Made a decision, paid the money. It was a bit of an outlay. It's a good $2,000 outlay for something that
I got mine. Same thing.
Yeah,
Facebook Marketplace, $500.
Yeah,
but I started after you, and now you've got 3 million downloads, and I've got 4. So who's really winning?
Well, in part 1, we listed off some of the immense guests that you've had. How do you achieve that? How do you reach out to people? Were a lot of them cold calls, referrals? Like how
it's
how
quite
does that
simple.
come about?
What's the worst going to happen if you don't ask?
Yeah, if you ask 100 and one says yes, then
just
you've got
ask.
one.
It's like picking up hot chicks. Seriously, you go to 10 hot chicks, you're guaranteed one of them. I'll tell you for a fact.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen some hideous blokes play a shotgun effect.
Oh, it works.
We had one bloke at the Shamrock over in Oakey. I mean, don't get me wrong, there wasn't much to pick from. But, like, he would sit there at the door and he's like, you good for it? And, like, he'd get slapped, he'd get spat at, someone would laugh. And within 20 minutes, he's gone. He's like, I've got a room around the corner. I'm in the Shamrock. Let's go. And you'd see him walk off. You're joking. Like, but it's like, it's 100% of shots you don't take.
That's exactly right. And that's how I did it at the start. I literally just reached out to these people and said, how about it? Podcast? And they're like, oh, I guess so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's do it. And
have you found that at some point that changed and people now reach out to you?
Oh, now there's, they look at my Instagram or, the list that I've had on, they're like, oh, yeah, fuck, he must be doing something.
Because that's what we were saying. We'll slum it with the first few. Obviously, that's why we came here, and then from there it'll grow. It's interesting. But even though we were interviewing our mates, and we'd work with them, and we had no idea about half the stuff that they'd done.
Learn a lot.
You learn a lot about people, and I've had a lot of my guests, their first podcast, and they come on, and I've had like their mums reach out, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that."
Yeah.
You've got that out of my son type thing. I can't, but we didn't know this. We didn't know that he went through this in Afghanistan or Iraq, or we didn't know he was in this police shooting type thing.
And I think you've had a lot of guests where they've said things for the first time. Never spoken
heaps,
about.
Mate, heaps have gone like deep and like, holy shit. Not even that, they come on and they feel refreshed when they come out. They're like, holy shit, that was better than 3 years of, talking to a head geek. You know what I mean? Like, holy
we were just talking before, and he was like, he got me crying over Charlotte's Web. I'm like, wow, thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Is storytelling therapy like that?
I need to get rid of it.
Is telling your story and having a voice, is that therapy for people?
I think it would be.
Yeah.
And again, mate, majority of the guests that have had on, they've said that. They've said this has been therapy. And one thing that it does is storytell. You're not going to be around forever. Especially for a lot of us, with young kids, for me, my 2 youngest weren't born when I was in Afghanistan, when I could have died multiple times, or even in Mexico, Iraq and Afghanistan down the track, could have died multiple times.
Or walking up the stairs to come in today.
Exactly.
That'd be a terrible way to go.
Imagine if
that, all the stuff you'd done.
You know what I mean? Like if you died tomorrow, you didn't tell your story, and now my story's locked in there forever. Or your story's locked in for
I'm aware I'm a massive deal
your family.
Now. Huge deal now.
Yeah, that's it. They're going to go, oh, far out. You like rainbows.
Yeah.
What a sissy.
But it's interesting because your podcast now, like, I don't know if you've spoken to the like the War Museum and stuff, but I'd be surprised if they don't have that in there for archives. Mate, a lot of the stories you've got now.
I think the issue with my podcast and the mainstream, as in the War Memorial. Yeah, War Memorial is a bit geekish. You know, they are a bunch of geeks down there.
Oh, they're definitely getting on now.
RSL's the same.
Like, they're definitely wanting you now.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, I don't care.
Haven't done any brand deals.
I did a podcast down there with Ant Plater, former 2 Commando.
So you're sitting on a park bench.
We sat on the park bench.
That was amazing.
Yeah, they come up. They come up, and I was like, I even told Ant, I said, mate, I'm not moving. If they want to fight me, I'll fight you on these hollow grounds. We deserve to be here.
Yeah.
A couple of those executives there never served, so they don't deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. My mates are on that fucking war, so I deserve to be in this spot.
Yeah.
But it was great. Like, it was just, what a podcast to be in a place like that. Our mates are on the war. You know what I mean? Like, it was incredible. But the podcast has been incredible. And it was starting. It was, what's the worst that's going to happen? What, I get 100 listeners, no one listens?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is the rejection, well, in dating you get rejected to your face, like we we're just referring to. But if you reach out to people, you just don't hear back. Like, is that an easier?
Yeah.
Just keep sending them out.
If people said no, that's
it's no big deal. Like,
no big deal. I'll just move on to the next. You know?
I think you'll find another thing too. People said no, and then like you're 100 pods in, you watch those people come back and go, "Oh, hey, Matty, about that thing. I was busy then. You know, can I just jump on?"
Yeah.
We were talking yesterday about, there was that guy that started with a paperclip and swapped it and ended up with a Ferrari. You just keep leveling up one little bit. One guest at a time. And
what's the worst that's going to happen? That's what, it kind of, I wouldn't say annoys me, but obviously suicide's a big thing at the moment, especially within the military and cops at the moment. Far out, they're dropping like flies.
We're mad for it, yeah.
And I don't see how, I don't say I've been there, but I've had those dark thoughts. I'd never do it because of my kids. I'd never leave my kids. But what's the worst that's going to happen? You lose your house.
I'd love to see.
You lose your car. Oh, who cares about that materialistic shit? Someone's going to help you out. You'll get help somewhere. You're not going to be homeless. Someone's going to help you. Someone loves you. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're, a junkie or whatever or something,
Even then, though, like, even then, their parents, I guarantee you their mum is still
and the government will help.
mortified.
The government will help. Like, as bad as I hate the government, they will help.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually. They have to. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? That's what I want to get through people's heads.
Who are in that mindset of, if you're willing to take your own life because of that, it's like, use that and go, well, I'm literally about to kill myself.
I might as well.
Nothing worse can happen. I'm going to pay it there. It's like, well, go do something completely ridiculous and brand new and see what happens. Like walk into your local business and go, hey, mate, I want to work for you. What can I do? Or go, run for politics, do whatever, go and speak to somebody, see what you can do. Just go somewhere and ask, because if you already don't think you're going to have it tomorrow, like do everything you've ever thought about doing. And sure, if you've ticked off everything, then maybe go back to your original plan.
That's it. But
it's,
just do it. Just try it. Far out.
Go and be a male model in Aldi.
Exactly.
So
can't turn left.
One of the things you do in all the podcasts toward the end is you've got a standard set of questions that all the guests go through, which Verso's been through this morning.
We're not doing that. No, we are.
I just want to ask, like, in particular.
Before we go with the 5.
You're going to go with that first?
Yeah, sorry. When you have done your podcast, right, and like all the way through here, everything you've done has been like a consistent progression. So it's like it doesn't seem like you've ever had a jump that's that large that was then made you feel like an imposter. But where you've ended up, for most other people, they're like, this is such a massive jump. It's crazy. So, but what you have done by getting to where you are from where you've started, like obviously no one saw the steps along the way. They've just seen it, gone, that's too hard. Whereas you've done something along the whole way, which has been great. But what you've also done is you've made something where everybody comes to your podcast now to listen, hear some other stories, hear what other people have done and achieved. And that's now making other people start doing stuff that you've said. Like, for example, we wouldn't have this podcast if we weren't like, Matty's doing this. Like one of the things the boys said at the start, they're like, hey, we want to have Matty on. And we're like, yeah, sure. And they're like, we're like, at 6 months, maybe we might get him on or whatever. Like we haven't even, we published him on Monday. It's our first thing. And we're already up here driving up to Newcastle. So it's like, it's funny how quick some stuff can happen when you just say yes to stuff or put it out there. But we wouldn't have done it if we hadn't have. Well, we've been ginning around for ages. Like we didn't have a bottle of vodka and just get involved. We've been stuffing around for ages, going, oh, do we, don't we, or whatever. And since doing it, now we've spoken to you. We went and spoiled Jared Goundry. He said he's going to let Al open up for him on an open mic night. It's going to be a rock show. Like the most dry bloke ever. Look at him.
How do you get Pikachu onto the bus? This can be one of your jokes.
No idea.
You Pokemon.
You got the right one.
You'll be able to.
That's the first one you've ever landed.
I've been looking at this for the last 45 because this one I think's a spooky.
I saved it for you.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. But yeah, so I just want to say, like, what you've done, even though you are a waste of time for our podcast because you're not an imposter, but you've but like you've made so many other people who have been thinking, can I do it? Can I not do it?
That was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of it.
Zero limits.
I get hundreds of messages, like you wouldn't believe. The Instagram is chocked. And if you're listening out there and it takes me a while to get back to you, it's because the Instagram and my emails are just, even my personal accounts, it's just full. I'm slowly.
Just of nudes.
A few dicks.
Yeah, no women.
No, which is fine.
Women.
Yeah. No, which is fine. 2024, anything's fine. And I'll try and get back to every single person, but there's been multiple messages that I do see and I do get back to. Like, I joined the army because of you. I joined the cops because of you.
Yep.
I joined the Ambos because of the Zero Limits podcast. I did this or I did that. I'm like, fuck, that's what it's about. That's what I want to hear. And then I've helped start up 3 or 4 different podcasts. I've helped start up a couple of security businesses.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm about. Like, there's so much to go around for everyone. Like, we don't have to all hold our trade secrets together. I'm going to be probably dead in 20, 30 years. Let's just pass all this
Al's been
information
downloading
on.
all your emails. So
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I'll teach you everything.
Yeah.
I'll teach you everything.
So it's interesting to have, because there's certain individuals who just will do stuff, and those people we need to get around, because you can, if you struggle to motivate yourself, like if you find somebody like a Matty Morris, or I've got other mates of mine who are where they are and they really shouldn't be because they're losers, but like they just had the attitude of like, oh, I'll give it a crack. And it's like, I've been through the army with them. And I was like, you were a rock show in the army. How are you now like a national manager at doing HSEQ because you were a loose unit? And it's like, yeah, because I know what idiots will do, so I can cut them off before they do it. They're like, if I would have done that on 4 beers, I need to stop it. It's like, but he's used it to, I think. But there's so many blokes that have got places just because they've had a crack, not because they're better than you.
Just have a crack.
And
just have it. Just the old Nike slogan, just do it. Simple.
Anyway, back to you, Al. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, like this will sort of summarise it, but you've asked 168 people, what can you tell people to just keep on keeping on? Is there like one summary message that's come from all those? Like, is it just what you've just said?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
We're going to get sued, isn't that trademarked?
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yep. But it's funny, it's such a big step to take sometimes.
It is. I think a lot of it is financial.
Yeah.
But do something small then.
Yep.
If you only got the budget to do something small, and do something small.
But there's
the worst going to happen, you lose $2,000.
And another thing with
like it could be a lot of money, but
doesn't have to be.
You'll get it back. Work harder and get it back.
Another thing with finances is there are places out there that'll help you start up.
Yeah, 100%, especially these days.
Yeah, like Princess Trust, Bravery Trust. Like if you're looking for investors, there are people out there that are happy to invest, and there are very veteran-centric ones. So finances is your issue. Either do something little where you get a raise account and you just put in $5 a week. Eventually it'll be $8,000 or whatever. Just do something little. Just start doing it now.
Yep.
And then eventually it'll get to some point where you can do something.
Yeah, there's plenty of cocaine washing up on the beaches these days. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, don't sell it in Sydney because everybody's got a kilo now, but drive it to Adelaide. They don't have it there.
Exactly.
Didn't turn up.
Exactly. Kickstarter.
Yeah. Just rub out the scorpion thing on the top of it so they don't know what brand it is and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Have you got your 5 questions, or what do you want to do?
No, that was just a summary question, mate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We didn't want to steal your trademark.
No, we can't just turn your own questions on you.
No,
but it was just
you can if you want.
To hear that message if there was something overarching.
Just give it a crack.
Yeah.
Again, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're only going to fail at it. Do something else. Try something else. That's what I've done. Everything I've tried to do, I just do it. Just get it done. What's the worst that's going to happen? The podcast gets. Everyone just stops listening now because I hate the government. Oh well, I'll just stop doing it.
That is a funny thing. Being like the captain of your own ship means you can have a podcast that you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
and it's like they can't really cancel you. Spotify doesn't seem to care about cancelled. No, they just care about listens.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've already got a job that you're doing means you can do whatever it is you want to do, which then means people will get behind you because you're being authentic.
Yeah.
And it's like if you can remain authentic, that seems to be the key. The drama is corporations don't like authentic.
No, they don't.
They can't associate with it. So if you can get yourself financially secure, live within your means, and then do something that you want to do, people will then follow that because you're not playing a role.
Yeah.
You're literally just doing it, which is great to see. So we usually do a little thing at the end where we like to challenge people.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got one bloke who's trying to get in the Fireys calendar. I don't really think he's working too hard. Look at me. He's like, I'm not going to the Fireys calendar.
Underwriting it, there's supposed to be something that will better them. So that one's fitness, but they can have a cheeky element to them as well. So.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, have you ever done a live podcast in front of a crowd?
No, I haven't.
Would that be something you'd be interested in doing?
100%. We've got something in talks. We want to do something.
Yeah.
In regards to large scale.
Right. Well, in front of our 12 listeners, are you willing to commit to doing a live show?
Yeah, done.
Yeah, solid.
Say when. I'm all about being part of things and helping out. And if my word can change one person's life or 100 people's lives, that's the goal.
Ideally, what I'd love to see is you doing a podcast Jared coming on doing some stand-up and Al doing the opening. He's the worst public speaker.
Did a bunch of challenges in one go.
Done.
Yeah, I'm all about efficiency. We'll do it at the same time.
And it'll be with Ben Roberts-Smith. Oh, imagine that.
Oh, you just cancelled us. Oh, well. 51% proven war crime.
Well, I don't think it'd be hard for you to fill a stadium with listeners that would want to see something like that live. So.
Yeah, I think.
Well, what is it, 20,000 a week?
Yeah, 20,000.
You look at that, like that's Rod Laver Arena we could have. Jeez, imagine you
how
did
long
that.
away would the 200th episode be, do you reckon?
168, so 6 months. Less than 6 months, 5 months. 5
We
months.
could just call it the 200th one.
200th, yeah.
And just do it live,
As long as we can get Travis Fimmel.
Oh.
He's the 200th.
Cool.
He's who I want.
He's actually one of our 11 listeners. So
Is
we'll
he?
see how they go. Yeah.
Trav, mate, I'll drink all the beer you want, mate. I'll just give it
200th episode
give me a traveller.
on Zero Limits,
You've
a
heard
live
that.
event with Travis
Fimmel, yep.
He's a large unit. That's a lot of beer
That's
too,
who we
Trav.
need.
Just so you're aware.
I'll have a traveller. Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just do it. Simple.